Hello everyone, it's Lennon. Welcome to the channel. Today I want to do kind of like an Earth Day observance. I was sitting here thinking about the wording, really. Not really the concept, but the wording Terra Incognita, alright? Which just means the uncharted territories. And I got to thinking, man, this is so fascinating because the Earth as we know it has been charted, okay, which just means that most areas of the world have been mapped, okay, like you get a map of even the more elusive areas like the height of Finland, right? Like you go into Lapland and a lot of that is it's charted like from drones and satellites and stuff, but a lot of those, you know, closer to the poles and stuff, those are probably a lot more uncharted than the residential areas of the world, okay? And then a large portion of our ocean is still a mystery, okay? Mystery. And I got to thinking, you know, in terms of my witchcraft, and because I use chaos and void and the unknown, okay? The unknown, whatever that is. I thought that this would be such a cool thing to incorporate into my witchcraft, but then how, you know, like, it's unknown, it's uncharted. But then I got to thinking, you know, even if it's mapped, like if you could buy a map and it would be charted, and you could say, okay, there's a road or there's a path or whatever, even certain mountain ranges there's certain mountain ranges that people haven't even hiked, so there wouldn't be anything in terms of like pathways leading up to the summit, right? A lot of them have been a lot of them have been, but there are some mountain ranges that haven't been scouted by actual people, right? I'm not talking about drones, I'm talking about people. Oh, my air condition just turned off, so hopefully you can hear me better. But like mountain ranges, the oceans, certain rivers, things that people, humans, haven't gotten to go to. So that's still considered to me terra incognita, right? And there's probably so many animals and plants that no one knows exists. And by doing a quick Google search, it said, like I wrote it down, 10 to 20% of all animal species hasn't even been documented, right? That's millions of animals and their species that haven't even been documented. And it did say that scientists are even worried that some of these like smaller animals, more bacterial animals, right, will go extinct before we can even document them. How sad is that? Like, for real, how sad is that? And possibly millions of plant life that's out there, it has been not documented. It has not been documented. So plants, animals, and, you know, obscure things that lie in these uncharted, or, well, what would you say that? They're charted, but there might not be influenced by humans, okay? That's what I want to say, I guess. That lie these wild, feral places that not even the humans go. Deep into the swamps, deep into the marshland, high up in the mountains. And see, like, I'm one of those nature people, right? I'm one of those pagans that loves to turn on David Attenborough and like Planet Earth, all the Planet Earth shows, and listen to them drone on about like one time I was watching a show about goats, right? Just something random I put on, okay? Background noise as I was doing housework. And I learned so much about the goats, the big Aries looking goats of the mountains. And they were climbing up. I mean, these things were steep, right? And I got to thinking, I love these little things. I love these quite literally goat-headed adversarial males. The monkeys in Africa, how they tribe up Oh my God, I'm so interested in stuff like that. But these goats, and then the muntjac, and then a muntjac is like a type of antelope. It's like a small antelope. The roe deer, I love deer. I love migratory work too. So there's so much that planet Earth, like the National Geographic Foundation, has allowed us to see, because some of those have never been seen before. Some of the areas where the cheetah is in the deep heart of winter, or the polar bears in the deep heart of winter, and they come out of hibernation, and it's still quite cold where they live, you know, in the Arctic, and they gotta pull out their cubs from their dens and go find them food. But these are bigger animals, ones that you can see from like a drone fly over, but there's so many smaller animals, not to mention all the animals that are in the ocean that we don't know even exist, because there's so much ocean that's just not been done with, not done anything with by humans. The most glorious thing to me is that there is still unknowns, right? And even if it won't happen in my lifetime, I don't think, but even if one day we were to magically know all the plants, all the animals, and all of the terrains of the entire planet that I live on, okay, this planet Earth, there's still quite a lot of unknowns in the universe. That fills me with joy, actually, instead of dread, because I feel like if science knew everything, then we wouldn't ever wonder about anything. And evolutionary, I believe this too, evolution would cause that wonder void that we have inside of us to just disappear. It will, evolutionally, it will disappear out of the human race once science knows everything. Now, I don't think that the universe, because of its grand scale, I don't believe that we'll even be technologically advanced enough in even 100 more years to know the whole of the universe. But maybe we'll get closer to charting more of this planet, the Earth, right? And possibly even other planets in our solar system, but not the universe. And that, instead of filling me with dread, it fills me with joy, because I feel like eventually the human race is no longer going to have the physiological, it's really not physiological, what would I say? Philosophical void of the wonder, okay, of the searching for something. And so this concept of terra incognita really fills me with a lot of good joy. But there's another Latin phrase that encompasses, I would say, encompasses more of the universe instead of this terra, which is the earth, okay? And terra just means land, really. So we could say that it means earth, but it doesn't. The land on Mars, what I would step on, what my feet would touch on Mars, would be Terra Mars. Okay? It would be the land of Mars. The land of Mars. How cool does that sound? The red land of Mars. Sounds like a book title. Anyway, there's another Latin phrase called omni incognita, which just means the unknown. Like everything that's unknown. So not just the terra, not just the land, not just the tangibility, but everything else, everything that could possibly be unknown or is unknown or will be unknown forever, okay, is called omni incognita. This stuff fills me with such fascination and such wonder, and a part of me, there's such a huge part of me that's so excited that I'll be like this until I die, you know, which in the blip of time and her fickle ass isn't a long time from now. So I don't know, it just fills my heart, because I want there to just be this unknown that I'm searching for, and I may never find it, but it's like the journey instead of the destination kind of thing for me, you know. And when I die, it's not about this place that I'll go to, that I'll descend to, that I'll ascend to. It's about going back and being part of the unknown. And I thought, how would I connect this to like my witchcraft, in like this kind of rural, subjective art that I would place on my craft for this incognita, right? The land and the animals and the plants that are unknown, right? And then I got to thinking, okay, there's a couple of things that I could do here. One is, I wrote them down. Okay, so forgive me for looking down. The first one is that which doesn't have a name ritual. Okay, now this is an honoring, this is a reverence ritual. So it can be as simple or elaborate as you do in your ritual work. But for me, this ritual is really about honoring all that does not have a name yet. Now, don't come at me with your religiosity about how Adam named everything. Okay, I don't care. I'm talking scientifically. If something is relatively unknown or is unknown or never going to be known, then that doesn't have a scientific name yet. That's what I meant. So, okay. If it doesn't have a name, I can still honor that in my practice. I can still honor the things that the spirits even, you know, if you're into spirit work, then these could be potential spirits that no one knows. You know, how cool is that? Also change it into a spell, that which doesn't have a name spell, and that could be a way. Oh, the hawks! I love you so much. I don't know if you can hear him, but their wingspans. There's a couple of them in the spring here that have visited. I'm sorry, squirrel. But their wingspans are like, I don't know, 4.5 feet. Oh God, I love them so much. I love hawks. Also, recently, the vulture, the one with the red head. Are they called red vultures? Because I know black vultures are in my area. Maybe these are called red vultures. I can't remember. But anyway, they've been visiting me too. Like the tree on my property, they just go, they roost. Okay, they like to roost. They like to just sit there for hours and do nothing. And I love looking at them. I'll just take a million pictures, you know? But anyway, so the hawks and the vultures have been visiting me a lot lately. Probably need to do something with that soon. Those have names though, so let's get back to it. If you do a spell, you could do something with that intention to connect with that spirit, right? Plant spirit, animal spirit, with whatever that doesn't have a name. And you can just make something up. Like, I know that with it being unknown, you don't have a vision of what that plant or animal would look like, but it doesn't matter, you know? It's just about connecting. So you could connect with it in terms of a spell, have that like intention, or do a ritual that just honors the unknowns of the kingdoms, if you will, on this planet, right? And then along the same lines as names, like that which doesn't have a name, you could connect with your name in like some kind of ritual or a spell. And the way I've done this is, I love my name, Lennon, right? I love my name. It's quite unique. Not a lot of people have that name. So, but it doesn't matter, okay, how unique it is. If you've got like a really popular name that like a lot of people have, it doesn't matter. And then a lot of you may have a witch name or a channel name or something like that that you resonated with more than your own, you know, name. You could use that, right? And you could do all kinds of work with your own name. Do sigil work with your own name. What I've done with my name is do a homing spell, which just means that I'm using my name in this spell intentionally to call back my power, to bring in, let's just like I'm calling that homing device that lives in my soul. And by saying my name, whatever name is your name, okay, that you've come up with or whatever, doesn't matter. It can be like a homing device, like you're finding your way home, back home. And you can even do this by chanting your name over and over again. There's a lot of ideas to do with your name. Like you can do this in art magic, self-portrait work, whatever. Like connect with your name because you have a name, because you have this like tie. It makes you a known, right? So you could do something that juxtaposes the known and the unknown. I think that would be cool. Now, for more of a purgatorial ritual, you could connect to the void, right? Now, this does feel very limbo-like. It feels, like I said, purgatorial. It feels kind of like you're suspended. And it's not always a nice feeling, to call in the void, okay? Because you do feel suspended and you feel like you can't really move and you can't do anything because you're stuck there like this, like kind of floating in this artificial gravity space, and or in this artificial non-gravity gravitational space, and you kind of just float there for a little while. But I use this to more so like when I need to think and I need to be completely outside of my own realm, and I go there for like the white noise and the whiteness and the blankness. It's like kind of floating inside of a dry erase board, you know. But anyways, I digress. So you could use something like that, kind of a ritual to connect with the void, but just know that because you're relinquishing a lot of control there, it's not always a nice feeling. Okay? Do some dream work, right? You can do some dream spells and some dream rituals to activate some unknowns. You can quite literally ask your dreams in like this kind of lucid way before you go to sleep at night. Do this kind of dream spell to provide you with some lucidity to connect with some unknowns, and just put that in quotation marks, you know, like whatever, like, hey, I want to connect with something that's unknown, you know, and see what comes up. If you can do it, okay? A lot of people can't handle stuff like that because their brains automatically go to like worst case scenarios, like, oh my god, it's going to be this like huge flesh-eating monster. So if you're one of those, it's just automatically going to go to the bad places, then maybe that's not right. You know, that won't be right for you. But you could witch flight. If you're doing dream work and stuff like that, you could probably go one step further and do some witch flight work and see if you can travel in these realms and these other worlds as part of your unknown work. You know, this omni incognita. So that's an idea. But you could also take like a chaos magic approach and just learn how to decondition from what you think is true, your beliefs and stuff, and learn how to get deconditioned and paradigm shift. If you learn those within like the chaos magic philosophy and theory, then you're already pretty much working with the elements of the unknown and the concept therein. So I don't know. I just thought I would talk to y'all for a little bit about this Terra Incognita and how I've incorporated that into my witchcraft. So, you know, we're going to honor all the stuff that's unknown out there. And leave that little place in the heart and in the soul blank. Alright, so what are your thoughts on all this? Okay? Tell me below. I hope everyone's having a magical day. Do something to connect with Earth Day, people. Much love.